Hello, humans, and welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. I hope you've had a great weekend. I actually had a weird one, but good. It was great. I spent time with my family, and a phenomenon keeps happening whenever I take time on the weekend. News breaks, and I'm not able to get proper coverage on them because right now, no, I've told you this, but I'm kind of struggling a little bit because I've been doing this for half a year now, doing content in English, but only about a month and a half I decided to do the videos Monday through Friday. And while I do that, I've been collaborating with Christian. He's been helping me promote my channel and my social media, but he can't pay me any wages right now because we just opened the channel. So trying to look for ways in which I can dedicate my full time to this because I do want to. It's what I want the most in this world right now, especially career wise. And I hope that people start paying attention to the effort that I'm making to get this content out and to get interviews and all that stuff, right? So far, the comments and the reception has been great. I know I have to reach a lot more people in order to fulfill my wish. So if you like the content here, please comment, like, share, subscribe. I also have a PayPal account on all my links link in the description. If you have anything like for a coffee or something, anything will help the channel and will help me go independent fully and keep doing this on a full-time basis, because right now 70% of my time I dedicate it to my day job and the rest I do this. And as you guys can tell, I'm doing a lot, so I can do much more if I had the full day. Yeah, that's gonna be it for the intro right now. The interview with Professor Brown made waves, and I was very fortunate to put it out just before Matt Ford at the Good Trouble show announced that he would be having a scientist to talk about the mummies. So I'm doing a video on that tomorrow. I have still a lot of information that I have to put together, but the video today is from last week's link that I got. Those who know me know that I've been investigating the case of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg. The documentary that led me to his case was directed by Catalan director Ida Cuéllar, who I admire deeply. And we've been talking on WhatsApp, and we've developed a nice relationship, a nice back and forth. He's a really nice guy. And the way I got in contact with him was through Dr. Àlex Gómez-Marin, who I had on my channel. He's a theoretical physicist, and he is the director at the Pari Center, and he makes wonderful conversations called The Future Human that deals with human potential and the investigation of multiple anomalous phenomena. He doesn't get into the UFO topic that much. I have to say that I am kind of guilty that he's been interested in it lately, but the stuff he deals with, I think it's far more important than the UFO topic. Let me tell you why. He is trying to study consciousness. He is continuing the work that Dr. Jacobo Grinberg left behind through theoretical physics. And he managed to get Ida Cuéllar in his show. I was invited to the conversation alongside a lot more people, and they spoke for over nearly an hour and a half. Ida Cuéllar was very knowledgeable, very gracious. I completely understand why I have this devotion to the work he does. He confirmed that is sometimes you do have to meet your heroes. I respect him deeply. I think he's one of the most talented documentary filmmakers in the world, and I think that his approach to this specific topic is unique in the world. So he is speaking from a perspective of a person that investigated this deeply. He also interviewed legendary author Patrick Harpur for the Jacobo Grinberg documentary. On a side note, Dr. Àlex Gómez-Marin had Patrick Harpur last week on the show, and I'm doing a video on that later too. But the important part of this is that Ida Cuéllar spoke with Àlex about the experiences he learned about from Dr. Jacobo Grinberg, specifically about Pachita. And this is a very important aspect of the human potential that I want to explore in this video. Because Ida Cuéllar talks about every single person who interacted with Pachita. He mentions Salvador Freixedo, he mentions Alejandro Jodorowsky, who are two brilliant authors who write about this topics in parapsychology and paranormal phenomena. And he says that every single person who describes their experience with Pachita, every time they got into the same room as Pachita, they felt the air and the reality around them became different. It morphed, it changed. And this is where I want to talk about the experience that I had when I was doing psychedelics. Because I've talked about telepathy, but I haven't gone into detail about environment manipulation, which is something that I've experienced. I did tell you guys when I went to that rave where I manifested a lot of things, right? But I kept doing that subsequently after that. And I learned that it is possible that with thought, just thought, no, not with opening your mouth, I'm talking about thought, you can attract things. I don't know if it's attract or if you materialize them, but it's real. It can happen. I've experienced it. And by the look of this, which I'm going to play to you right now.
What's imagination, right? Because imagination is like a substance. It's not just something that is nothing, because, because you cannot touch, the imagination. It's not physical, but either way, it's like a substance. It's something that you can connect with. And for instance, Jacobo Grinberg, that scientist that I was doing the documentary, he's talking about consciousness and imagination. And in some moment, it seems like imagination and consciousness is like the same thing. So he was saying that the reality itself, it has a substance, and this substance was consciousness. So that's why we can change reality, because through our consciousness, we can. It was this famous shaman woman, Pachita, la curandera, that he was like opening with his knife the bodies of the people, and he was like taking things like illness, and he was like saving people from, terrible illness. But the most interesting thing is when people was with Pachita, all the people that I interview and all the books that I read, Jodorowsky, Jacobo Grinberg, Salvador Freixedo, they were assistants of her. And then I interview a lot of people, assistants of Pachita, and people that was being surgered but by her. What was a thing that all the people was telling to me was like, when you went with Pachita, the reality was more liquid, was not as solid as, as now you can touch, was more liquid. So even the assistant of her was saying to me, like, I think that he could open the bodies of the people just by the hand, The instrument of knife was just an instrument, but he could open people by the knife. And then he was like, with her hand, was like just putting the hand on the bone, and it was like just closing, and a little scare was like, little scare was there. So if you think that the world that in which we are is like kind of imagination, it's the substance of this world, then, I mean, everything changed, right? We are part of a huge world made by this consciousness. So I think that if you put imagination in that term, not just the ideas that come to you, but just like understanding that the whole universe is made by this substance in a way, then the perspective of everything is like, okay, I'm like in a dream, no? As Calderón de la Barca, as all the writers and mystics are saying to us, like, this is like kind of a dream. You cannot separate the difference in between when you are awake or you are dreaming. Just, if you have a lucid dream and it's like, okay, I'm dreaming, but you can feel everything as if it was real. So I think imagination is this frontier, this boundary in between this, I don't know, these two worlds.
By the look of this, I think Pachita already had mastered this ability of controlling and creating the environment around her. And I think that power is what gave her the skill to do these unbelievable operations or surgeries. And then I want to play you one more clip that is a little long but it's the 10 minutes that I was speaking to both Dr. Àlex Gómez-Marin and Ida Cuéllar. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
How's everyone doing? Hey, Ida. Hey, Alex.
Estamos entre amigos, parece. Go ahead.
Nice to see you guys. Hello, everyone, and the rest of people who are here. I love your conversation. I wanted to ask you both about because I think that there's people who have been following up on Dr. Greenberg's work. You two are two of them from different perspectives. But you, Alex, recently told me that you've been speaking to Dr. Jeffrey Kripal and his book about the superhumanities. I don't know if Ida has read anything about Dr. Kripal, but he talks about a like a more fantastical aspect of the development of human consciousness and potential abilities that we can develop through years of practice and a balance of self. I wanted to know if you think that we might get through that threshold eventually in our lives in our lifetimes. And also, Ida, just one more thing. Would you happen to have any idea when we might get your documentary with English subtitles? That's it. Thank you.
Empieza tú, Alex, igual.
All right. So when you say the threshold, Pavel, what threshold you mean? You mean the threshold towards the superhuman as Kripal speaks about it?
Because I think that for example, Buddhist monks, they already have some kind of communion with this super abilities, you know?
Yeah, I see. I mean, lots to say about this. And by the way, we have Kripal coming to Italy in person at the end of June, precisely to speak about his new book entitled How to Think Impossibly. So we are really following on that. But let me just say one thing. Well, two things. One is a joke, a really bad joke that I make to make fun of myself, that I often do in conferences. So I say, when they summon me as the expert, I say, ladies and gentlemen, neuroscience now has proven that in order to breathe, you first must exhale and then inhale. You see, it's like, wow, really? And I'm not diminishing science. I mean, but it's like we knew. Okay, so with this really bad joke, in India, for instance, I think they call it the cities, these powers that come as a byproduct. It's like the smoke on the that's produced as a byproduct of, in that case, the path of yoga, for instance, and you get all sorts of abilities expressed, right? And for them it's no big deal. But I don't only mean India like 5,000 years ago. I mean today in schools and so on, right? So I think, again, here in the West, we are surprising ourselves, saying, wow, could this be possible? Wow, what does that mean? Well, we are the anomaly. Like the last 400 years in Europe is the mainstream of it, is the anomaly. All cultures everywhere else in the world forever are familiar with this. They know about it, they practice it, they teach it, right? So and yet it needs to be done, right? So that's why the work of Jeff Kripal is so valuable, and the things you, Pavel, and Ida, and myself are trying to do, we're trying to just recast those intuitions and those phenomena into the current means of expression, which can be go to the cinema or read a scientific paper or attend to a podcast conversation, right? Different forms. But Pavel, there's nothing really, I don't think there's nothing really new. It's just now we're surprising ourselves, as we should. We forgot and now we remember.
Absolutely. I like, as you said, no? The anomalous thing is our civilization, right? This 4 centuries or something. That for us is a more normal cosmovision that we can have because it's ours. But Pavel, my film is already with English subtitles, but it's not released in US, but uh, it's already with these subtitles. And I think that you put Kripal here in the conversation, and I think that super interesting, no? All what he's saying. And I think also there are, the consciousness phenomena, it's the clue of everything, I think. Because what is consciousness is something that we really don't know, no? It's some scientists say that it's a product of our brains or minds, and the others saying that the mind is just it's just connecting with the consciousness, no? What's your point of view, Àlex, about that, about the consciousness? I mean,
that's another long one, but what I'm trying to do to summarize it is to put on the table one extra option, because we're only given one choice, right? And when I say we, it's like the way it's presented. It's, well, the brain either produces consciousness, so somehow, somewhere, matter becomes mind, or the other option is you're stupid, right? It's like, well, there are two options. Either it's what I say or nonsense. But there are more options, right? And a way to put it, I always invoke William James when he wrote that, well, the function of the brain can be permissive rather than productive. So I'm saying, let's just put this other option on the table, which I think is more promising and more true also to anomalous experiences, but also experience. I mean, you don't need to speak about the anomalous. All toothache, pain. I think it's better explain if that's the business through a permissive model rather than a productive model. So, and from it, you realize that all these, you see, I'm trying to go meta here, because you could think about many different theories of consciousness. Fine. And I engage in that. But then you realize, well, if all of them are productive, it's like you're studying all these species, but you don't realize you're studying all these birds, but you will never find a fish. It's like, well, we need to find other taxonomic groups here, right? Like, and so then when you start exploring the permissive theories of consciousness, you can be more nuanced, and you can find different isms. Some are more idealism, leaning towards idealism. Others are more pan-experiential, whatever. But it's like you open the windows and more air new fresh air comes in, and now you can think and breathe differently. And I think they're more true to experience. And there will be more to say about that. But that's how I think about it. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me that mind consciousness experience, which we often use interchangeably, and we could be more precise. But anyways, that this just comes from matter, which is precisely not just the opposite. It's the negation of that, right? It's like, well, matter is that which, it's externally related, doesn't care about anything, doesn't have any value, doesn't have any purpose, doesn't have any experience. Well, maybe we can flip things upside down and see what we can do. And it's happening. It is happening in the sciences. It's happening in philosophy. It is happening in the humanities. Like, now Pavel has gone, but since he has asked about Kripal, one more thing I wanted to say about Kripal and work like Carlos Eire, who was here with us last month, is that there's the same sacrifice and the same problem to overcome in different disciplines, like in the humanities or in the history of religions, as they've told us, Kripal and Eire and others. Well, people want to study the phenomenon, as you're saying, Ida, as I'm not involved. And whatever happens, well, let's interpret it from this functionalist point of view. Like, okay, people have these habits or these beliefs. Well, let's study them to see what function. It's like a way of putting a raining coat so that you don't get wet. Like, well, no, why don't we entertain them as if they were freaking real, as opposed to seeing them from the outside? So I think this transformation, this kind of putting ourselves inside the very equation we're trying to study, is happening in science, in the sciences, but also in the humanities, hopefully as well in philosophy, which has become some sort of, analytic exercise and dry the soul out of philosophy. I mean, these things I think are coming back also in academia.
Can I make one final comment? Just
Yes.
one more. Something that caught my attention that Ida said about Pachita where reality became liquid. That was very interesting to me because I think that people that tap into the source, like Pachita did, they don't just change things with by tapping into the source. They also change people and stuff around them. So whenever you step into that like bubble they have, you also experience these changes. And I think it still happens today with people who are like really virtuous artists or people who create new theories like Dr. Greenberg did. You step into their world and you can see changes within yourself. So I wanted to point that out. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Pavel. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
You notice how at the end I managed to link the first clip to the end part of my conversation about this liquid reality that becomes when anybody approaches Pachita or a person that is powerful as Pachita, because we know also about the mysterious Don Juan Matus from the Carlos Castaneda books. He also had this ability of changing his reality. And this lore of the skinwalkers has to do with this, that they managed to reach a level of understanding the perception of reality so much that they managed to change it to their will. And I think that is the next step in human evolution. And I think that is forgotten knowledge too. When the powers that be at the time, because has been happening, as Ida said perfectly on these videos, for about 400 years, this has been happening. The powers that be identified these skills or powers or shamans, and they erase them, they eradicate them. And this is something that I have no idea if still happens to this day, but on a more governmental level, if you know what I mean. So I think that may be one of the reasons that Dr. Greenberg was either convinced or taken against his will to disappear in December 1994, because he was tapping into something that was not allowed yet, because the human condition is not ready yet, or at least at the time was not ready yet, to experience such a massive paradigm shift and evolution of human consciousness. And this is where we get to the meat of the issue, because I think that we're running against the clock. There's stuff happening in the Middle East and in Russia that has us against the wall, pinned against the wall, and we need to pick up the pace with this specifically. And I do think that a lot of people are waking up. I think that this reality is becoming more apparent, and we are more ready than we were 30 years ago to make that change, to take that leap. And I have faith. If I believe in something, because I am an agnostic, I do not believe in God. I do think that dogma is a major issue in modern society, especially organized religions. But I think that if I believe in something, I believe in people. I choose to think and I choose to know that I believe in people. I believe in the human potential, and I believe that we can do wonderful things when we are together, when we think alike, when we are connected. And I think that right now we are the most disconnected that we've ever been, but people are waking up, as I'm telling you. And I think that videos like this one are helping people realize that we need to wake up and we need to reconnect ourselves through quantum entanglement. Think about it. I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your support. Much love. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the video about the Nazca desiccated corpses. They're not mummies, desiccated corpses. Bye-bye.